the Night Court ASMR. Hello, darling, and welcome to the Night Court. As always, it's your choice, and you have chosen an end-of-night meditation, appropriate for dawn when another chapter is beginning. So you can listen to this in those hours or just whenever you wake up in the morning. I think it's nice not always to just focus on sleep, but to have something that helps us feel peaceful to start the day, hopefully positive. And maybe we don't always have time to just lie there and listen, but you might enjoy hearing some positive words or philosophical words in a category that makes you feel ready to start the day, greet the world. And if you don't feel that way, perhaps this can do a little to help. Dawn invites us to set intentions, feel encouragement, and heed the wisdom of our own experience, as well as those who inspire us as we stride into the coming day. So this won't be so much whispers as soft-spoken. I today thought I would read a few minutes of the Enchiridion by Epictetus. I really enjoy reading Stoic philosophy, and this book, as you can see, is very battered. It's just a thin paperback, but I love the way that the pages sound. I always love videos with leafing through books. I especially love water-damaged books, but sadly, or maybe not so sadly, this one is in okay condition. The shame of it is it's hard to damage a book, but gosh, does that sound nice? Maybe I'll pull out some older, more damaged books. In the future, I do sometimes get them from libraries when they're getting rid of very old books. I am a book lover, but I don't disdain the Kindle. This book, however, is just a nice one to carry around with you. So, I'll get started. And for some background, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born in 50 AD. So this is, of course, translated. He would have been born in what is now southwestern Turkey. Not much is known of his life, except that he was apparently lame and weak and was a slave as a boy in Rome. And I always take heart in that. I'll start reading soon, but the idea that he was a slave, because he really advances the idea that one lives in one's mind, because he had great physical obstacles to overcome. Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. For example, death is nothing terrible, for if it were, it would have seemed so to Socrates, for the opinion about death, that it's terrible, is the terrible thing. When then we are impeded or disturbed or grieved, let us never blame others but ourselves, that is, our opinions. It is the act of an ill-instructed man to blame others for his own bad condition. It is the act of one who has begun to be instructed to lay the blame on himself, and of one whose instruction is completed neither to blame another nor himself. And of course he tends to refer to men, himself, so on. I don't take that to be literal. Nothing necessarily misogynistic about these passages. So when I read that, please know, if you're a woman listening, that's not necessarily relevant. He's talking about men as in humans. And I know this might be a little bit heavy for the beginning of the day, but I think personally, and perhaps this is just more content for another video because I know not everyone will agree with me. And it's not that I have no fear of death or no concern about it, but it doesn't seem to me to be as heavy a topic as some people necessarily make it to be. I think we should walk alongside death, and we do every day. Recognize it, notice it, and as he says, it's the opinion of things, death one of them. And not that I'm some sort of in some perfect, space of constant peace or anything, but I find the idea of mortality quite encouraging because it reminds me that I have this one life. We'll do another passage. In everything which pleases the soul or supplies a want or is loved, remember to add this to the description or notion. What is the nature of each thing, beginning from the smallest? If you love an earthen vessel, say it is an earthen vessel which you love, for when it has been broken, you will not be disturbed. If you are kissing your child or wife, say that it is a human being whom you are kissing, for when the wife or child dies, you will not be disturbed. And of course, I don't think we're all there, nor would I want to be necessarily. But the idea that we have the things we love, things and the people, on loan, and they're not ours permanently, I think is a really powerful one. And another one in which I take heart. Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. I'm going to read that one again. Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. Not that I plan on translating all of this to you, but I do enjoy reading these and thinking about them. And the idea of always wanting specific things to happen instead of accepting what does, that can really drive us to all sorts of unhappiness. If you would have your children and your wife, or your husband, or your partner, those you love, and your friends to live forever, you are silly. For you would have the things which are not in your power to be in your power, and the things which belong to others to be yours. So if you would have your slave to be free from faults, you are a fool. For you would have badness not to be badness, but something else. But if you wish not to fail in your desires, you are able to do that. Practice then this which you are able to do. He is the master of every man who has the power over the things which another person wishes or does not wish, the power to confer unto him or to take them away. Whoever then wishes to be free, let him neither wish for anything nor avoid anything which depends on others. If he does not observe this rule, he must be a slave. And of course, he doesn't mean a literal slave, but the idea that you're a slave to what you want in the face of the fact that other people have control over their own choices and lives. If you continue to want that sort of power over others instead of recognizing for yourself that you can't control them and that you can, the one thing you truly can, have power over is your thoughts and the way that you consider others. And that's a much more satisfying way to live. And would lead to less silly desires, like those of immortality for those you love. We have to start with ourselves first. Remember that thou art an actor in a play of such a kind as the teacher may choose. If short of a time, if long of a time, if he wishes you to act the part of a poor man, see that you act the part naturally. If the part of a lame man, of a magistrate, of a private person, do the same. For this is your duty, to act well the part that is given to you, but to select the part belongs to another. Let's find some other bits that I like. The life which is implicated with fortune depends on fortune, is another way of saying it, is like a winter torrent, for it is turbulent and full of mud and difficult to cross and tyrannical and noisy and of short duration. Don't trust to luck. If you wish to be good, first believe that you are bad. It is better to do wrong seldom and to own it and to act right for the most part than seldom to admit that you have done wrong and to do wrong often. Cop to your mistakes. Do you love my translations of this? I should stop infusing my own opinion, but I know some of the phrasing is not necessarily natural. And of course, I'm not necessarily right in my interpretations either, but do not so much be ashamed of that disgrace which proceeds from men's opinions as fly from that which comes from the truth. If you wish to be well spoken of, learn to speak well of others. And when you have learned to speak well of them, try to act well, and so you will reap the fruit of being well spoken of. I think that's quite true. It is a shame for those who sweeten drink with the gifts of the bees by badness to embitter reason, which is the gift of the gods. No man who loves money and loves pleasure and loves fame also loves mankind, but only he who loves virtue. Now, I don't think this means you can't, strive for financial security or enjoy things, but I think when he talks about loving these things, he talks about love in this sense being of a material kind and therefore not necessarily healthy, to love those things too much. I think we all know it's just common sense, right? It's not healthy for you because the things that you don't require money or fame or quick pleasures for are the things that are enduring. So much of this we know, I think in our hearts. And I also would mention too that I know that there is the occasional use of God or gods and so on. And everyone may have different feelings on that. Another thing I won't get into today for myself, but what I will say is that I don't think it's necessary to conceive of God in the sort of typical sense that we often do in the modern day to understand what is meant here. I think we can just think about it in the abstract as a not necessarily higher power that comes from sort of like a specific being, but I take it to mean like the forces of nature or things really out of our control is sort of how I'm invested in the notion of God in the way that the Stoics talk about God. Chaos. Entropy. Wealth is not one of the good things. Great expenditure is one of the bad. Moderation is one of the good things. And moderation invites to frugality and the acquisition of good things. But wealth invites to great expenditure and draws us away from moderation. It is difficult then for a rich man to be modest, or for a moderate man to be rich. It is not poverty which produces sorrow, but desire. Nor does wealth release from fear, but reason, the power of reasoning. If then you acquire this power of reasoning, you will neither desire wealth nor complain of poverty. It is not poverty which produces sorrow, but desire. I think that's true, and I wouldn't claim that I live all of these things out in my daily life. Obviously, I fall and I fail, but I do recognize and believe, despite my humanness stepping in the way often, that it is not poverty which produces sorrow, but desire. It's the wanting something different from what we have. And I don't think he's saying we cannot strive, right, and that we cannot have ambition. But the suffering comes not in the way things are, but as we would like them to be. So I think acceptance is key. And I'm trying to be better all the time. In banquets, remember that you entertain two guests, body and soul. And whatever you shall have given to the body, you soon eject. But what you shall have given to the soul, you keep always. Quarreling and contention are everywhere foolish, and particularly in talk over wine they are unbecoming. For a man who is drunk could not teach a man who is sober, nor on the other hand could a drunken man be convinced by a sober man. But where there is no sobriety, it will appear that to no purpose have you labored for the result of persuasion. It is better by assenting to truth to conquer opinion than by assenting to opinion to be conquered by truth. I think that's an important one nowadays. I mean, at the moment we're, in the US anyway, a month away from an election. I think that bears keeping in mind. If you seek truth, you will not seek by every means to gain a victory. And if you have found truth, you will have the gain of not being defeated. Truth conquers with itself, but opinion conquers among those who are external. Oh, that's great. Truth conquers with itself. That's all truth needs, but opinion conquers among those who are external. It is better to live with one free man and to be without fear and free than to be a slave with many. It is better to live with one free man and to be without fear and free than to be a slave with many. Instead of a herd of oxen, endeavor to assemble herds of friends in your house. Nothing is smaller, meaner than love of pleasure and love of gain and pride. Nothing is superior to magnanimity and gentleness and love of mankind and beneficence. Of pleasures, those which occur most rarely give the greatest delight. If a man should transgress moderation, the things which give the greatest delight would become the things which give the least. If you wish to make your judgments just, listen not to, regard not any of those who are parties to the suit, nor to those who plead in it, but listen to justice itself. Think about what people want when they're arguing. You know, what is the goal? And how? You will fail least in your judgments if you yourself stumble least in your life. It is better when you judge justly to be blamed undeservedly by him who has been condemned than when you judge unjustly to be justly blamed by before nature. I'll wrap up. I like this one. We ought to call in reason like a good physician as a help in misfortune. Enjoy the day that you're about to have. Thanks for listening.